Hello everyone and welcome back to the Scots Scheme with Macalester College head football coach Coach Jennison. The Scots Scheme is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the Macalester coach questions about the Scots, football or sports in general, or just seek the coach's wisdom about life events that are going on. In this week's episode, the coach talks to us about the heartbreaking loss to Hamline last week, as well as the excitement that he feels about heading to Illinois College. He tells us why it's great to be a Fighting Scot, and Cash McGregor joins us for 5 minutes. So let's get right to the Scots Scheme. So let's welcome back Coach Jennison this week. Coach, let's first of all begin with your team updates for us.
Hi, Rob. Thanks for having me. Team updates. Obviously, we're coming off a tough loss at Hamline. Last year against Hamline, we lost our 3 top starting inside linebackers because of the physicality of the game, and we're actually healthy. We have no major injuries right now other than a couple holdovers. Kerrigan Miller has been out since our team scrimmage. He was projected as a starting offensive lineman, but has been out and will continue to be out for probably another month or thereabouts. So we're hoping to get him back at some point coming up here. We do have a few other young men that Forrest Caro is working through some issues with his leg, his knee, and ankle, and so he's out. It looks as though he'll be out for this weekend. And Henry Caffaretta as well hurt his shoulder the other day in practice. Unfortunately, he's got a bad shoulder to begin with, and so it looks as though he'll be out as well. But we're hopeful that both Forrest and Henry will be back next week, and that Kerrigan will be back at some point in the near future. So overall, team updates, we're healthy. We've had a really good week of practice. We've challenged our guys in some ways and made our practices a little more competitive in some areas, and they've responded well. So very pleased with our week of practice thus far. And last week we didn't have as strong of a week as we need, and in my opinion, that's the difference in the game. We lose that game because we weren't as prepared as we need to be. So certainly that's been a focus of ours as coaches this week, and our players have answered the bell. They've come ready to go.
Talking about last week's loss, it was kind of a tough one for you against Hamline. Mm-hmm. What were some of the things that you noticed that were areas of improvement for you?
Things we need to get better at. Certainly we need to protect the ball better. We gave them 7 points there because we fumbled on basically the 1 yard line, and you can't do that, especially with a defense that's been playing so well. We need to make them earn it when they do, make them drive the length of the field. So that was disappointing. We fumbled the ball a couple different times and had another interception. So I can't remember. I'm quite honestly, I'm trying to block out that game. We learned from it, and we were down for a couple of days about it, or at least I was. But we've moved on to Illinois College now. But certainly the ball security are things that we need to improve on, and then executing at different times as well. We weren't as successful on 3rd and 4th downs as we need to be, and it's an area where we need to get better. So. Certainly, we've had a good week of practice, and we think that some of those things will be corrected.
What were some areas that you think the team performed exceptionally well in?
Really defensively, our defense has been very physical. They're flying around. They're stopping the run. They've been efficient against the pass. It'd be nice to see us get a few more takeaways at the same time. We've gotten a couple. I don't really remember how many. I think we had 1 interception last week, and I think we had 1 fumble as well that we got. Is that right? Is it 1 and 1?
I believe so.
It's hard to remember. So it'd be great to see a few more takeaways, but at the same time, our defense is playing really well. They're playing physical, they're playing fast, they're playing confident, and we need to keep that up because they've really played well their first 2 weeks of the season against quality opponents.
Cody Petrich came in and performed pretty well for you. Do you see this now as kind of a neck-and-neck battle between him and Christian Adams?
Yeah, I would say that's kind of where it is. And really, quite honestly, all through camp, it was neck and neck. Those two both had really good camps and were performing well. Unfortunately, Cody got really sick the week before the first game, which really hurt his progress and hurt his preparation for the Carleton game. And now he's healthy and come back, and he's been, he did get in the Carleton game when Christian took a really big hit on a touchdown pass, made a great throw in the first game, and took a big hit. Thought his hand might be broken, actually, his wrist, but came back and led us to a victory in that game. Christian did, but Cody, when he was in there, let us down on a nice little drive. We ended up kicking a field goal, and then on Saturday against Hamline, had a couple nice drives for us. He did fumble the one ball, and that's something that, again, I mentioned we need to really secure the ball and take care of the ball. We can't have those turnovers, but other than that instance, he put together some nice drives for us and really helped spark the team. So yes, we're excited for both of them. I think they're continuing to get better, and I think the competition between those two has been neck and neck really all season long.
Whose performance for you really stood out in the Hamline game?
Matt Bonazzoli played the best game of his college career, and he's a young man that's very tough, very hardworking. I can't get enough of him. He's my kind of guy because he works so hard, and he just goes about his business in a really professional manner. And I was really excited to see him have success, because Matt has really had some injury issues around here that have really kept him off the field for us. As a freshman, he came in and had mono right away, and he was out for half the season due to the mono. And after he came back, he actually worked his way onto our kickoff team and did a really nice job as a freshman on our kickoff team. And then last year, I believe it was his knee that was injured, where he missed some time in the beginning of the season with his knee, and finally came back. But I don't know that he ever really got truly healthy. But he kind of fought through it towards the end of the season, and then in the springtime, he had a hamstring issue. So he's been one that's really had some bad luck in terms of injuries, but he's worked extremely hard. I know that he has the trust of our coaching staff, and he's a really good football player. And it was really, I was just so thrilled to see him have the game that he did. So definitely Matt Bonazzoli, he sparked our offense and really got us going with his in the run game last weekend in the second half. It was great to see, and we're hoping that he can do that again.
So you enter into conference play this weekend, taking on Illinois College. Is there a greater sense of urgency because it is a conference game? And if so, do you think your players are recognizing that?
I'm not sure how to answer that. There's urgency to win our first two games of the year because they're the rivalry games with Carleton and Hamline. We're playing for the Book of Knowledge or playing for the Old Paint Bucket. So we really want to win those games. At the same time, yeah, I do think that it changes now that it's conference play because people, our players know what's at stake. Our coaches know what's at stake. Quite honestly, it doesn't hurt us at all to lose our non-conference games. So, maybe we're playing some different people, and we're really trying to figure out who we are. And I think, that's the good part about playing two quality opponents like Carleton and Hamline is that it helps us figure out who we are and how we should be running our team and what we should be doing offensively, defensively, scheme-wise, and whatnot. So I hate to say that, those conference games maybe mean a little bit more. There's a greater sense of urgency because I know that we want to win, against Hamline and Carleton. But at the same time, I think there is a little bit of that. Everybody knows it's for real now, and we're playing for a championship. So I think you're going to see our best effort this weekend. I'm confident of that.
Coach DeFrisco takes over Illinois College as a first-year head coach. Are there some things that you're noticing in the way that he's running the team through the first couple of weeks that really stand out to you?
It's hard to tell right away who they're going to be, but you can tell that. He's had a really successful defense over the years, and that doesn't look like it's going to change. They've forced a lot of sacks, turnovers, and they're flying around on defense. I do know their defensive coordinator, Tom Parkovich. He's a really strong coach. He's coached up here in the Upper Midwest before, and for him to go down there and to work with Coach DeFrisco in terms of two defensive guys running things, that they're going to be very strong defensively and very sound in that regard. So I think what you can expect is what we saw from their defense over the last couple of years under Coach DeFrisco's lead, that they're going to be tough, they're going to be physical, they're going to fly around, they're going to hit people, and they're going to be aggressive. And I would say that's really what we've seen out of them in their first 2 games this year. So. Yeah, he's definitely got a good job, and I think he's got the respect of the players too. By the way they're playing hard, and I know that he had been there for quite some time, so it seemed to me like a very good hire and a natural hire for him to take over.
The Blue Boys also enter 1-1 in this contest. They're using 2 quarterbacks at times. Have you seen enough on film to be able to judge or to prepare for both of these young men?
I wish I could say that we have, but I don't really know. You still don't. Only each of them have really only played 1 game, so it's really kind of hard to get a feel for who they are. I know number 6 was in the first game, and he was very athletic, very talented, running the football, very good athlete. And now he didn't play in their second game against Simpson, so not sure what to think. But then number 2 comes in there, Blake Matson, and he throws the ball all over the place. He's still very athletic, and he picks up some yards with his feet too, and he can move in the pocket. So. We just have to be sound. It's hard, especially at this point of the season, to really know what we're going to get from them. But we just have to be sound defensively. We have to, limit the big plays. Hopefully, like I said, we can create a couple of takeaways on our, get them to turn the ball over a little bit. But I think as long as we're sound, we're covering all the gaps and we're limiting those big plays, that our defense will play well. So again, I really don't know what to expect out of them. We're just, we have to be flexible enough with our schemes that we have to be able to adjust, and I think our defensive coaches do a really good job of that. So we'll see. They look like a team that can really pound the football. They're big up front, and they've got really good backs too. They're talented on the line and really good backs, and they've got a talented receiver core. They just haven't thrown it a whole lot at this point, so it's a little bit concerning, a little bit makes me a little bit nervous, and I'll sleep all that well, just because they haven't needed to throw the ball. So I don't think it's an issue that they can't. I just think that they haven't done it that much. In the first game, I think they threw it 14 times or something like that, but they didn't need to. So we'll see. In the past, they've been a very strong passing team that's had really good balance, and I expect that that's who they are. They just haven't thrown it as much because they haven't needed to. So we'll see on Saturday.
You talked about how aggressive and good this defense is. 9 sacks for the first 2 games. Are there things you and the coaching staff need to say to your offensive line to prepare for a team like this?
Yeah, block somebody up front. That's what we've been telling them. Again, it's just a matter of, I think, being sound in our schemes and understanding who's blocking who, and then giving a great effort. There's sometimes that you're going to get beat, and that's going to happen. I mean, they've got some really good players up front, and I know our players are going to play hard, but there's going to be times where we get beat. We're probably going to give up a sack at some point, but we've got to learn from it. We've got to come back and with strong attitude and play hard the next play. And I think you're going to see that from our team. But there's really not a ton that you can do to neutralize their defensive linemen. Maybe you throw it a little bit quicker, maybe hit them with screens and draws or whatnot. But for the most part, they're very talented up there. They can defend the run, they can defend the pass, and we're gonna try to keep them off balance a little bit by doing a lot of everything. So they're a good team, and obviously they pose a challenge, which is why they've been at the towards the top of the Midwest Conference for the last few years here, and why they were picked to finish, at the top of the conference too. So we certainly have our work cut out for us this week.
Heading into our fan questions this week, we first of all have Christina, who commented that she's enjoyed listening to the show each week.
That's good.
She says, Coach, what does RTR stand for?
Roll Tide Roll. I think I got beat on that a couple years ago, didn't I? Didn't somebody ask that once upon a time? Or maybe
they might have, yeah.
Okay, I thought I got that, but I believe it's Roll Tide Roll. And I think I might know where this is coming from. But, we're big Alabama fans up here with Jacob Jones, our running back, who's from Holly Pond, Alabama. Jacob's a great player and a great young man. And I think that question might be somewhat referring to him in some capacity. But we're hoping our back from Alabama, Jacob Jones, is going to roll this weekend. That would be nice to see.
James from St. Paul has a couple of questions for you. He first of all asked, there's a lot of talk about eliminating kickoffs for player safety. Where do you weigh in on this?
Well, I know that covering kickoffs was my favorite thing to do in all of football, all my years of football. So I think it's the most fun part of the game. Obviously, there are collisions out there, but I think it's a part of the game. You know, I would really, honestly, I would be fine if they moved the kick up to the 40-yard line. I know that we had that for 1 year, maybe it was 2 years, 4, 5, 6 years ago, something like that, and then they moved it back. And to me, Division I, that's fine, but Division III, we don't have a ton of kickers that are going to kick the ball in the end zone. So why not move it up so you are getting more touchbacks, which means less of those collisions. So I think that's something that the Rules Committee could look at, and I think it's fine to have different rules at the Division I level or the Division III level, because certainly our talent is not always the same. Sometimes it is, which is going to surprise some people, but it is. But in this case, I don't want to eliminate kickoffs from the game, but I do think if you move the kicking off from the 40-yard line, you get some more touchbacks and eliminate some of those hits. Where is it at the NFL right now? Where do they have it? They probably have it back at the 30 or
the 30, I believe. Yes.
But didn't they? I thought they moved it up a couple of years ago so that they could get more touchbacks. But anyway, I can't keep track of it all, but. Anyhow, that's how I feel. Don't eliminate kickoffs, but if you want to avoid some of the collisions, then move the kickoff up.
James would also like to know, how do you feel about teams not having contact practice during the season, and do you see Macalester moving towards this?
Well, we haven't tackled anyone in practice in basically a couple of years here at Macalester. Now, we will have a couple, during fall camp, we have a couple of scrimmage periods, and we've gone, maybe a 5-minute live period here and there. We'll do that, but when we get into season, we don't tackle anybody. So, and I honestly believe that most college programs are that way. I don't think you see a whole lot of tackling going on during practice anymore. So I think that there's maybe a little disconnect. You hear all this talk about, well, there's no contact practice, but I think what that really means is people aren't tackling. I don't think that you can completely not touch another person and do a football practice. It's a physical game, and you need to block. And you can't really run any plays and can't get any work in if you're not blocking somebody. So to me, non-contact, I don't really know how you would do that in terms of football, where you just eliminate all contact. I think really when people say non-contact, they're talking about not practicing. But I think we do a really good job in our program about being safe with things. Knock on wood, but we haven't had any concussions this year, and we're hopeful that will continue. But again, we're going to be smart about the situations we put our players in, and we're not going to take them to the ground, not during practice anyway. And again, I think most college programs are this way nowadays.
Mark from Madison would like to know, do you think Division III football will get a lot more credibility when a guy like Joe Callahan becomes the Packers' backup quarterback?
I hope so, because there's some very good football played at the Division III level. I played at the Division III level, and two of my college teammates made it in the NFL for a number of years. I believe they're collecting pensions right now. Mike Maslowski was a starting inside linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs. Bill Schrader, Mark from Madison, might remember him, played wide receiver for the Packers. And I had probably about 7, 8, 9, 10 other teammates that had tryouts. A few of them stuck for a year or two, and others didn't make it, and had a few that played in the Arena League and in Canada and whatnot. So there's a lot of talent out there at the Division III level, and I do believe that sometimes people don't understand how good of football it is at this level. So hopefully with Joe Callahan having some success with the Packers, maybe that will bring a little bit more credibility to Division III football, because I think we certainly deserve it. I think you watch the games and you see fast, physical football players out there. And certainly, we might. I think one of the differences I always thought in college was that the height was different. The speed of the game was similar in a lot of ways to upper levels, but we weren't as tall. Like I know that for myself, I was a shorter defensive back, and it seemed like everybody in our secondary, for the most part, was about my height. Where you look at the Division I level, and it's we were I wouldn't say myself, but a lot of my teammates were as fast as those Division I players and had similar 40 times and agility times and whatnot. But we weren't 6'2", we were 5'8". So that might be, I think sometimes that's the big difference, is the length of people. But yeah, hopefully his success does bring a little more credibility to Division III football.
Next up is Ben from Dallas. He says, do you find that people assume that because a kid goes to Macalester or to a like a Grinnell, that people assume that they can't be that good of an athlete?
I don't find that. I hope not. I hope that people don't think, they're going to an academically minded school, that they're not a good athlete. We have players on our team that passed up scholarship opportunities to play here, and they were good enough to get scholarships at Division II schools or 1AA schools. But yet they chose to come here because they valued the academic side of things more so than the football side of things. And they knew here at Macalester, they can not only can they get a world-class education, but they can also have a great experience in football. So I hope that people wouldn't assume that, because I would encourage them to come out to one of our practices or come out to one of our games and stand on the sideline where you can see how physical the game is, how fast it moves. I think you'd have a different opinion of things if you did that.
We also know they wanted to come to Macalester so they could play for the best coach in Division III football.
Yeah. Right. Coach Mullenbach is, I'd say, the best defensive coordinator in Division III football right now. So I agree with you, Rob. Thank you.
Jack from Chicago asks, I listened to the different terminology that teams use for their offenses or defenses. Everyone seems to have different words. How do you go about choosing the terminology that you used as a coordinator and as a head coach?
Well, basically, we just use things that make sense. I do know that coaches oftentimes recycle a lot of terminology, a lot of words. You can go down to the University of St. Thomas and they're going to have some similar formation calls as we do, and some similar things about our defense, because our defenses are somewhat similar, or once upon a time were. So, and there's other programs in this area that have some similarities, or coaches go from Macalester to. I'm trying to think of another school in this area, and I can't think of one right now, but if a coach, Eau Claire, Coach Larson, Dan Larson's the head coach at Eau Claire now, so there's going to be some similarities there with what we do, and basically the coaches in this area, a lot of them have been around at a number of different schools, and they bring those same ideas and terminologies with them, so that's where you see a lot of the carryover with the terminology, is that it goes from one place to another. For us, we try to make it simple. We try to have words that make sense, that our players can remember, and hopefully because of that, they're playing at a fast level where they're not thinking too much.
Next up is Sophia from Minneapolis. She asks, my husband travels a lot for his job. I'm curious how you balance your job while still being able to spend time with your kids.
Well, right now I'm not balancing it very successfully, I'll tell you that. I think I've said this before, I try to be present when I'm home. I try to I don't have hobbies, so when I go home, I don't watch TV, I don't watch football on TV, I don't read. I go home and I try to be with my kids. Now, there's times that I work when I'm at home too. So typically I'm cleaning up or doing things around the house or making dinner or hopefully helping put them to bed or whatnot. But I'm not great at it, and certainly this time of year is a challenge. But again, the best thing that I can say is that I try to be present when I am home, and hopefully they see that. Hopefully that means something to them. I think it does.
So our last part for the Scots game this week is, why is it great to be a Fighting Scot?
It's great to be a Fighting Scot because we've had a really good week of practice. I'm very proud of our team for how they've competed, how they've worked this week. Sometimes a loss will do that to you. You kind of have a new sense of focus, and our team has done a really good job in that regard. So I'm excited for that. Another reason it's great to be a Fighting Scot is we've got 8 commitments right now from recruits. Typically at this time of year, we have 0, maybe 1 commitment. And right now we have 8 commitments from young men from all over the country who've indicated that they're going to apply for early decision at Macalester because we're their number 1 choice, and they want to be a Fighting Scot. So So we got some good things going on, and again, we've got a big challenge ahead of us with Illinois College this weekend, but we have a road trip where we get to spend a lot of time together because it's our longest road trip of the year, and we're going to have a nice team meal on the road and get in the hotel, and I actually think it'll be good for our players to get away and to be able to spend time together and whatnot. So we're looking forward to the trip, and we know that there's a great challenge with Illinois College, but I'm confident that we're going to play our best this weekend.
I want you to notice that I did take your correction that it wasn't just good to be a Fighting Scot. It was great to be a Fighting Scot.
Did I mention that?
Yeah, last week.
Well, I appreciate you listening. I guess this is the Tony Jennison show.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Good deal.
Thanks for joining us this week, Coach.
Thanks, Rob.
So we're going to welcome Cash McGregor here to the Scots Scheme. Cash, you were named the Player of the Week for Macalester this last weekend. A tough loss at Hamline. Tell us a little bit about that game.
Yeah, it was a tough game, hard-fought game, and I feel like at the end of the game, looking back, it could have gone either way. It's probably 3 or 4 plays that dictated the outcome of the game, but they're a good team, and it was good for us to play a team like that, especially now heading into conference.
The defenses look really solid for Macalester this year. Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing in differences from last year to this season.
This year we have a little bit more experience. Last year a lot of guys were thrown in maybe a little earlier than they expected, and this year a lot of guys are taking a big step forward in their knowledge of the schemes and just the feel of the game. So this isn't their first time out there. We don't have many first time starters. It's a lot of veteran guys now that been out there.
One of the spots where the team seems to be really deep is in the secondary. How is that group functioning together, and what do you feel about this group?
It's been really good. The incoming freshman, Keontae, and then our transfer, Patrick Grogan, but Mason and Dean Smith, I mean, they've all really gelled. I mean, they gelled really quick with us, and just really good guys to have around, and definitely helped us develop our camaraderie a lot more. But yeah, overall, it's really nice. We're 3-4 positions deep at corner and safety, which we have not had since I've been at Macalester. So we definitely have a heightened level of competition during practice, and then even in the games you see quite a bit of rotation in the secondary.
This weekend you begin conference play against Illinois College. Tell us a little bit about what you see in them that poses some challenges.
They're a big team. A couple of years ago, I kind of had this mindset coming into the week right after Hamline was, they're going to throw the ball and everything, because that's what we saw 2 years ago. But this year they got a big offensive line, and which could pose some threats to us. They're going to be really physical, so it's going to be a good test for us up front, especially to see how we can hold our own against, guys that are going to be bigger than us, and see if we can get off blocks and make plays.
I would assume from the safety position you're going to have a really active role in that game then.
Yeah, it's going to be all 11 guys. The corners and both safeties are going to be asked to help out in the run, and obviously stay alert for the play action, because they do have a lot of talent at wide receiver as well. So we can't just they can't lull us to sleep with the run, but we definitely have to do our part in helping the team out in that category.
Now, last year at the end of the season you were battling through a bit of an injury. How are things going for you now?
Yeah. So that was pretty tough. I only played 2 games, but going through that was definitely helped me mature more as a person, as a football player, and it feels great now, and it definitely let me get closer to the guys off the field, because it kind of left a bit of a void of me not playing. So it was really nice to just focus more on academics, especially because I wasn't spending as much time at practice and everything, but I think it just helped the amount of time I was able to spend with coaches, looking at film and almost being in a coaching role last season, near the end of last season, because I could help out some of the younger guys last year and other guys at my position.
So our last part for this show is tell us why it's great to be a Fighting Scot.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think the best part is just being able to pursue greatness in a lot of different aspects, not just football or academics, and being exposed to just really great people here outside of the athletic department too. Just really driven, motivated people here that make you better, and together everyone makes themselves better.
Cash, thanks for joining us this week.
Yeah, thank you.
We want to thank Coach Jennison for joining us on the Scots Scheme this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Macalester coach, please send them to us at TonyJennison@minorleaguesportsreport.com. That's TonyJennison@minorleaguesportsreport.com. Please have your questions to us by Wednesday evening so we can give the coach a little time to review them before we record the show. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next